It's now 5 o'clock. I will call the meeting of the WISD Board of Trustees to order. Please let the record show that all 7 trustees are present, and this meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been duly posted for time and manner required by Section 551.001 et sec of the Texas Government Code. It is now 5 o'clock. At this time, Dr. Hollingsworth is going to lead us in our invocation, followed by our pledges by Morgan Rogers and Michaela Rogers.
Let us pray. Father, we're so grateful to you that we are able to come here as leaders of the school district and as members of this community. We're so grateful to live in a country where we are free to speak your name without fear. We thank you for a community that loves its schools. We thank you for teachers and principals and all those who support the great work that happens in our classrooms. And Father, I just thank you especially for each of the members of our board who give their time and their heart and their energy and volunteer that all to better things for kids. God, thank you for the opportunity to come here today. Let the decisions that are made here today reflect your will. We ask all these things in the name of your Son. Amen. There they come.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Our vision is to be a district where innovation thrives and growth is limitless.
We value choices because they make us unique and are critical to learning.
We value a collaborative culture that honors and supports all who positively impact the lives of our students.
We value an environment of belonging that respects individual differences and ensures equality for all.
We value relationships that broaden learning experiences and enrich our community.
Okay, at this time, next item on our agenda will be our open forum. We do not have anyone signed up to speak tonight, so we will move into item number 5, which will be the oath of office for board members elected at the May 7th, 2022 election.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, I'm pleased tonight to have our county judge, Todd Little. He is here to administer the oath of office to you and to Ms. Timmerman.
I haven't seen it. Is Judge Little here?
Is unable to be here? Okay.
How about we do this? How about we just continue on? Maybe someone can try to call him and see if
Sure.
he's been late.
We'll do that. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Let's go down to item number 7, which is recognitions. Because we really can't do item 6 until do the oath of office.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Bridges, I believe we have several recognitions, if I'm not mistaken.
We do. Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. We do have several people to recognize this evening. I'd like to first invite Dr. Philip Morgan up.
All right. Good evening, board members, Dr. Hollingsworth. Tonight we are gathered for a very special recognition in fine arts for Waxahachie ISD. These students that are entering right now have received local and state accomplishments in theater arts, but it's a little bit different this year because they didn't just go to state, they're bringing home hardware. I have the pleasure of announcing the board resolution, which I'll give to our directors, recognizing the company of directors from A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, Waxahachie High School's state final qualifying production for the 2022 UIL One Act Play Contest. I want to first bring up our directors, Mr. Andy Reynolds, Mr. Ryan Mulliken, Mrs. Paula Myers, and this year we had one of our junior high directors. UIL allowed us to bring a fourth director. That's a new thing that they're doing. So we had one of our junior high directors for both professional learning and her experience come in and be a guest director in the program. That's Miss Courtney De La Cruz. This year, 249 schools in Conference 6A. Before I get it, let's just get our students in here. Let's go ahead and bring in the cast and company, because I want you to hear it while they're in here. It's also important, too, because I know Miss Charity Mulliken here. She's our theater director at Coleman Junior High as well. Give her a round of applause. Well, she's here with us recognizing. Although Ms. De La Cruz went with us to all the trips, Ms. Mulliken did as well, and she's just as much of one of our team. It's a beautiful vertical system that's been developed here under Mr. Reynolds. 249 schools started the UIL One Act Play Contest in Conference 6A this year, vying for a state meet berth. Of those schools, 38.5% made it to by district, 19.2% made it to area, 9.6% under 10 made it to the regional championship, and the top 3.2% of plays in the state of Texas made it to the top 8. And so, first, they're in the top 8. Let's give them a round of applause. This is Waxahachie High School's second year back-to-back to go to state, and I believe they're seventh, is that correct, in the last 12? Seventh in the last 12 years to make it to the state meet. This year they decided to go a little bit harder than they've ever gone before. They ended up at the end of the year in the top 0.008%, finishing as the Conference 6A state silver medalist in One Act Play. Number 2 out of 249 ain't too bad. They have fantastic directors, amazing performers, and some outstanding parents. If you're a parent of one of these student or company members' performers, would you stand and let us recognize you at this time? And if there are any of our WHS administrators, I know you cannot do this without the support of a fantastic principal and principal's team. Ms. Harris, I saw her earlier. Is she with us? Ms. Harris, would you please be recognized? Any of your staff is here as well. Individually, 2 actors were recognized at the state level, and they won, as you can tell, multiple accolades along the way: destroying district, decimating by district, annihilating area, ravaging region, and then, of course, slapping state. So they did a great job.
Had that written down?
That was improv. That was improv. That's right.
That's good stuff.
2 actors were recognized at the state UIL meet as award winners for their independent roles. First, your State 6A All-Star Cast performer in the role of the monster, your senior and graduate, Omari Crocker. If you haven't followed One Act Play, they only gives 8 All-Star Cast and 8 honorable mentions. So he's in the top 8 of the state in terms of individual actors. But the ensemble was amazing. And finally, the State Athletics Championships awards, so for those of you who don't follow One Act, they award a most valuable player on offense and defense. So basically, they're 2 outstanding performers in athletics. For One Act Play in theater, 2 individual performers are recognized since 2018 as outstanding performers in each conference. However, Concord Theatricals, in association with Samuel French Publishers Incorporated, collaborate to award of the 2 best performers the Outstanding Samuel French Award winner, who stands above all as the outstanding actor or actress in that conference. This year, one of our own was selected as the best overall performer in the state of Texas in the largest conference, 6A. So it gets you a little emotional. Ladies and gentlemen, for his performance as Connor, your 2022 UIL Outstanding Performer and Concord Theatrical Samuel French State Acting Champion, Noah Elsom. They do get emotional as I am, but right now they've been through it and they're in summer, so they're kind of like, eh. But I will tell you that the achievements that these students have won this year to bring home not only a state qualification, but to bring home a state award, a state medal. They're number 2 in the state in Conference 6A, and there are hundreds of schools across the state in multiple conferences, but their show just absolutely moved people at Round Rock this year at the state meet. Not a dry eye in the house, a beautiful message of caring for loved ones with terminal illness. It was a difficult show, and I'm honored that they did it, and I'm honored that they represented you all this time. In addition, the theater team and their individual accolades, their efforts cemented Waxahachie High School to the 4th place overall UIL academic school in Conference 6A. We are so proud of you, your state championship awards, and your team, and you congratulate you on this brilliant season. Bravo, you are the lucky few. If we could have our board members that are coming up for a photo and our superintendent, principal, directors come on up for a photo. Yeah, however you want to stack them. Sorry, a little improv, but they're working. It's a big stuff. I'm gonna go Find a window.
There you go.
Oh, all right. Jump in. All right. I'll jump in over here. Lay down.
Yes. The younger one? That's the older one. Big brother.
Good job, Mr. Reynolds. Yep. Board, next I'd like to invite Greg Reed to come up.
All right, good evening. Dr. Hollingsworth, board, cabinet that's here tonight. On May 14th, we had a special day. I'm going to go ahead and let Josh Harris and his family, Coach Rogers, come up. You guys come up and join us? Everybody, yeah. So on May 14th, Josh participated in the UIL 6A state track and field meet. He's a triple jumper, and for somebody that coached triple jump for a long time, it's a highly technical event, and it takes a special athlete not only to be able to perform the jump, but to compete at the highest level, which he did in 6A. And I'm proud for Coach Rogers. In his first year as our head track coach, to already take another athlete back to the state track meet this year. So I'm going to invite Coach Rogers to come up, and he's going to speak a little bit about Josh.
First of all, committee members, board, Dr. Hollingsworth, I would personally like to thank you for coming in and watching us compete in the regional meet. And I would also like to say in front of everybody, I apologize for my demeanor. After Josh qualified, our relay didn't qualify, and I was not very pleasant to be around at that time. And I want to apologize to Dr. Hollingsworth for that. But it is truly an honor to have coached Josh. Josh is the epitome of student athlete, first and foremost. Larry and Sonia, I appreciate you guys letting me coach him. When I came in, and last year around, what was it? Well, in the summer, his mom contacted me and they wanted his letter jacket. And so we started a conversation, and I started talking to her about my background in track and things like that. And I kind of piqued her interest, and she said, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. But develop a relationship with them. And I would say this, Josh has never missed a practice. He showed up during December, before track season started. He showed up in January, and when we didn't even start, and did some private workouts and things like that. And at one point, Josh was the number 3 triple jumper in the nation at one point. He went from 43.10 to a 47.10. That's a great accomplishment. And again, most importantly, Josh has made second team academic All-State out of all track athletes, and that's holding a 90 plus, 95 and above average. And I would say thank you to the teachers at Waxahachie High School for educating him and giving him the opportunity to do this. But I present you with Josh Harris. We're going to do all the recognitions.
I think the one thing that wasn't said, he did finish 7th at the state track meet. It was a very hot day. 1A and 6A both competed that day, and there's a lot of people taking shelter under the stands while these guys were jumping. So it was a great joy to be able to see him to participate. So congratulations, Josh.
For next, I'd like to invite Veronica Schaefer, principal of Shackelford Elementary, to come up.
All right, good evening. There we go. All right, good evening, Dr. Hollingsworth and Board of Trustees. I'm Veronica Schaefer, the principal at Shackelford Elementary, and tonight we wanted to congratulate and honor Breck Bradshaw in partnership with David Flores from Brownie Book Publishing and Matt Authier with Gateway Mortgage. So if I could have those two individuals please come and join me, please. These two individuals reached out to me. It started with Brownie Books Publishing, David Flores, with an opportunity to have a student author contest. And so so that started with David Flores. And so immediately I said, Mr. Flores, absolutely, we want to embark on this opportunity. And so then we worked in collaboration with Matt Authier, and he made it happen. And so throughout this process, we were able to have a student author publish their official book of Chicken Bot. And so I'm going to turn it over to David Flores to speak a little bit about that process that we went through.
Hello, everyone. So Breck was one of 30 applicants for the writing and publishing contest. He was one of 6 submissions and one of 2 finalists. But his work just stood out amongst all the other submissions. So he was awarded a contract, a 1-year contract with Brownie Books, and he got his own book published. So congratulations to Breck.
Let's go right up here and we'll get a picture. Yeah. Did Breck's family come up for the pictures?
And I forgot to mention that I have his 2 first paychecks from the royalties from his sales. Yeah.
Dr. Hollingsworth, you want to hold a copy of the book up too? Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Authier. Thank you, sir.
Board, next I'd like to invite our Community Outreach Coordinator, Sandy King, to come up.
Good evening, board. Good evening, Dr. Hollingsworth. I'm so honored to be here in with such a good night, right? We get all the happy stuff going on in WISD. So I am here representing community outreach. As you know, community is one of our core values, and it just so happens to be my favorite core value because I get to work on it all the time. One of the programs that I run is Adopt a Class, where I recruit people from the community to adopt 3rd grade classes. This past year, we had a record number of 3rd grade classes with 48 3rd grade classes. We were able to get people to adopt each class, and 19 of those adopters were all first-time adopters. So I would like to introduce today, if you guys will come up with me, Jim and Tina Insignia. They are a real estate agent team and other stuff. They do all kinds of stuff. But Jim and Tina adopted Miss Stewart's class at Clift Elementary, and the reason I found them so intriguing in what they did is they, at the very first of the class, they challenged those students to find a way to be kind to somebody and do a kind act every single day. So they would share acts of kindness that they did while they were there. And that kind of culminated in another challenge where it started to be getting around Thanksgiving and Christmas time, and Jim and Tina said, you know what, we want to take you to Waxahachie Care and show you how a food pantry works and what it means to give back to people who may be in need over the holidays. And by the way, if you guys donate food, we will also give you a pizza party if you donate so much, canned foods. So the kids obviously knocked it out of the park. They donated way more food than they were challenged to donate. Jim and Tina took them to Waxahachie Care. The kiddos got to weigh the food. They got to organize the food, put it on the shelves, and it just so happened that there were some families that showed up in need, and they got to disperse the food to the families. And what was so cool about it, they said, was that those families weren't necessarily who you would think would be in need. And so those kids really got to see that it's all walks of life that sometimes become needy. And so it was just a really moving situation for both the teachers, all of the kids, and of course these 2 guys. So we just want to thank them for what they do to check that box of being active in our community.
Sandy, may I add another class of 1989 right there?
Oh, class of 1989. Yeah. Oh, 87 was better. Yeah, y'all are super old. I don't know.
And if anyone out there is interested in adopting a class for next school year, Sandy is recruiting. So next I'd like to ask Cam Bridgers, our student nutrition director, to come up.
Dr. Hollingsworth, Board. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to honor a person who is child nutrition's everyday hero. Our hero is a truly special individual who may think their daily efforts go unnoticed, but I notice, and I'm certain everyone he comes in contact with notices also. The hero meets every challenge with grace and humor, maintains and delivers all of our U.S. commodities, also assists with repairs on kitchen equipment, coolers, and freezers, even when the failures occur on weekends and holidays. On a moment's notice, he's in the truck driving to Dallas to pick up necessary foods or supplies so that our menus and student meals can remain unchanged. He is determined, dependable, never hesitating to go above and beyond the normal scope of his duties for others inside or out of our department. He is exceptional, and to me in child nutrition, he is irreplaceable. Our everyday hero is Ruben Trevino.
And board, finally this evening, I'd like to invite Philip Gerke, our transportation director, to come up.
Thank you, Dr. Hollingsworth, members of the board. I'd like to recognize some people. In transportation, we like to be, or our goal is to be reliable and consistent. So when kids see that door open up, they know they see that same bus driver every day. And this year's kind of unique because we have not had a full school year since the 18-19 school year. So it's a significant milestone for these people. So I'd like to welcome Carl Brown, Cindy Cooper, Michael Garrity, Lonnie Harper, and Kathy Moya, also Ian Hill, for perfect attendance this school year. And the impact is, this is almost 12% of our driving pool. So I thought that was, when I asked Jenny if we could recognize 6 people tonight, she was like, sure, that's great. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Take that to Ian. I sure will. Y'all want to come up here for a picture? Thank you, board, and Dr. Hollingsworth.
Let me wait on you. I didn't know if you were going back.
Just say something. Thanks. All right. Mr. Vice President, I want to say thank you so much to Judge Todd Little. We value so much the relationship that Waxahachie ISD has with Ellis County. We appreciate you being here today, sir, to administer our oaths of office. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, at this time, we'll turn it over to Judge Little on letter number 5 on our agenda.
You want to do it up front? Right here.
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of trustee of the Waxahachie School Board in the state of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
Debbie, you want to take a picture with your family? Go ahead. Okay, next item on our agenda is item number 6, organization of the board. Be the election of the president, vice president, and secretary as required by WISD board policy, BDAA legal and local.
Mr. President, I move we elect Dusty Autry as president, Clay Schoolfield as vice president, and Melissa Starnider as secretary for the 22-23 school year.
Second.
Okay, at this time, we have a motion by Ms. Kriegel and a second by John Rogers. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, moving on down to item number 8, which are reports. First report will be our superintendent's report. Dr. Hollingsworth.
All right, we're going past there we go. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'll just say congratulations to our newly elected board members. Thank you all so much for your service, and thank you also to our newly elected officers. We appreciate everything that y'all do. Want to show you where we ended up the school year in terms of enrollment and average daily attendance. You can see our enrollment ended the year at 10,137. And we ended our last month of average daily attendance was at 95.13%. Being above 95% was a really good thing because we were not for much of the school year. So that was a big celebration, took a lot of hard work. Mr. Avenshine worked really hard to work with our principals to make that happen. So a lot of good work that went into that. I want to just show and point out kind of our enrollment. No surprise to anybody. Year over year is going up quite a bit. And you can see where we ended the 2021 school year. We were at 9,599 students. We're up 538 students to end the 21-22 school year at 10,137 students. So that trend of growth we expect, and our demographers tell us will continue for quite some time. I want to talk to you about our leadership and learning and the focus that we have as a district. We're working this summer in particular, and we'll continue as we go into the fall semester, working with our principals and with all of our district leaders on coaching practices in leadership. In short, that's a transition from being tellers and telling everybody what to do to coaching folks and asking better questions to help folks improve their practice. Lots of classroom presence and feedback based upon what we see in classrooms. That'll be a major focus as we go into the fall. And it will be based on our WISD classroom look-fors. And this is the first time that y'all have seen these look-fors. I'm very excited to present them because they took a lot of work on the part of our principals, our central office team. They took these back to their campuses, and we asked our teachers, what are the things that we should see when we walk into your classrooms? And all of that collaborative work leaves you these 4 look-fors that you see before you. A positive and purposeful interaction between students and teachers. Posted and understood learning objective is something we should see in every classroom every day. A collaborative learning environment, that is one where kids and students are talking with one another. And then effective instructional strategies, things that we know are proven by research to be effective in raising student performance. We'll continue dividing our campus leadership team meetings into 2 segments. We have one segment that's focused in on leadership and learning, and we have one that's nuts and bolts, so that it's not all just nuts and bolts kind of activities and announcements, but one that's focused in on growing our staff as leaders. And then finally, we will really begin our full transition to all of our leadership meetings being focused in on our balanced scorecard, which y'all adopted last month. There's our balanced scorecard, and as a reminder, our 4 priorities that we'll build all of our work around are student growth, honoring and supporting our staff, community and stakeholder relationships, and financial integrity. So those are great priorities, and those are the ones that we'll center our work on as we move into next year. I did want to point out tonight in our consent agenda, there are 2 memoranda of understanding. These memoranda of understanding are with 2 really, really important partners, and I wanted to just kind of highlight them to publicly say thank you to both of them. But one is SAGU, Southwestern Assemblies of God University. We're signing that memorandum of understanding with them. We're so appreciative of the relationship that we have with SAGU and how we share facilities, and we really, really value that. It's far more than facility sharing, though. They fully take part in what we do as a district. And then also, we're also signing, if y'all approve, we're signing a memorandum of understanding with Baylor Scott and White Waxahachie. And that's, as you know, that relationship that we're striking up with them to support the Marvin Biomedical Academy. So those are 2 that I really wanted to highlight that are in our consent agenda. And then finally, I wanted to take a point of personal privilege to recognize the latest doctor. We're doing this like every month now. We have another doctor in the house, and that is Dr. Stacy Johnson, our Director of Professional Learning. And so, Dr. Johnson, stand up and be recognized. And that concludes our superintendent's report, Mr. President.
Okay, moving on to item B, informational report on preliminary STAR scores. Ms. Hilbert, how are you this evening?
Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. Exciting to be here and go over with y'all the preliminary, and I'll say preliminary because while there's a lot of percentages out there, they may change. This is not our final file. But I want to go over that with you. But before I do, I wanted to go over just a couple of things, because when STAR scores come in, work's still going on. We still have things to do. So some of the things going on right now, the first one is high school EOC remediation. Y'all already aware that students at high school have to pass the 5 EOCs to get their diploma. And so the next opportunity for them will be June. And I have that over in the STAR. We have summer testing June 20th to 23rd. But to help those students get over the hump and help maybe in some of those deficiencies, there's the remediation going on at the high school. It started June the 6th. It will run up until that week of testing. There's a morning session, there's an afternoon session, so anyone that wanted to attend that could come and get extra support. Then for our junior highs, we have our math boot camp. That's for students that did not excel or did not meet the approaches, meets, and masters for our junior high math. That's also held at our junior highs. There's dates are July 18th through the 28th, Monday through Thursday. There's also a morning and afternoon session, and so they'll have an opportunity to brush up on your math skills. And we start going through some of these scores, and you've probably heard math is one of those areas that got hit hardest from COVID. And so this is one way to help those students get back on track. All right, next slide, and you'll probably be asked this in the community, how can I access my child's STAR scores? So I have some dates there. The first release that parents can see their student STAR scores are June 16th. That's for all the high school students. And then for June 24th, 3 through 8, the parents can access that. And not just this year's scores, but they can also access their entire testing history. What do parents need to be able to do that? Well, hopefully they know their first name, social security number, which is a little bit more difficult. We know they probably had that filed away somewhere. And then they need to know their date of birth. So if they knew those 3 things, then they can access their STAR scores through the family portal. Ms. Bridges and I have worked together. We have an email going out to all our families the morning that those are released, so they'll be able to access that. Next thing that you probably have heard many things about, and many of us have gotten up here to report on, is House Bill 4545. Legislation approved that last year. TEA rolled it out right before school started and said, here you go, this is what we need you to do. The problem it was right before school, and everybody was scrambling trying to get school started, but also get this up and running. So what is House Bill 4545? If you've been in education a while, remember SSI for grades 5 and 8, and they had to pass the math and the reading portion. If not, there had to be a special meeting and do all that. Well, that went away, and they replaced it with House Bill 4545. That means any student, any subject, any grade level that does not meet a passing or satisfactory standard for STAR or EOC has to have 30 hours. It used to be known as remediation. Now it's known as acceleration. And so that math boot camp that I talked about earlier, that helps with those hours as well. And all the principals have worked on their campuses and how students are going to get that during the school year. And the goal is, hey, we want to look at your deficiencies and we want to help you be able to pass STAR the following year. The other thing that's different, what is included in this? Students that are in grades 3, 5, and 8 who did not meet satisfactory on math or reading are also required to have an accelerated learning committee with the principal, with the teacher, with the parent, with the student, so they can come up with a plan to help that student. We all know that education's not a cookie cutter thing. It has to have an individual plan that will help that student. So that's one of the things that has to happen on that. So that's House Bill 4545 in a nutshell, and I say a nutshell because it is a beast. There's a lot going on with that. And honestly, students in 4, 6, and 9 that failed math and reading again this year, they had to have another accelerated learning committee meeting with the superintendent's designee. So I know principals have worked extremely hard right when school is out to try to get those meetings with parents and get plans when school starts, because all that has to take place before the first instructional day of 2022. I told you there was a lot of stuff before we actually got to the scores. The next thing is talking about accountability. Our accountability, and y'all know that's the A through F accountability, that will come out for us August 1st. I think it's open to the public or goes out to the public August 15th. But talk to you a little bit about how STAR scores play and have an impact on this. Domain 1 is student achievement. So you look at that first picture up there. For elementary and middle school, Domain 1, 100% of that goes from STAR scores. High school's a little bit different. They get 40% goes to STAR scores, 40% is CCMR, which is our college and career military readiness. That means dual credit, AP testing, 3 or higher, a CTE certification. There's a lot more that goes into that. For maybe those kids that are not really college, they could be more career ready. And then there's graduation rates. On top of that, though, Domain 2, which falls right in line with our scorecard that Dr. Hollingsworth alluded to, is talking about student growth. Domain 2 is all about student growth. So when I go over this data today and we're looking at schools, we're not looking at individual students. That's what principals are doing. And I've had a lot of principals call and say, man, I know some of those scores, they don't look like maybe I wanted them to look, but our students really showed improvement. And that's what matters at the end of the day, because every student student can show growth. And so that's why it's so important that it's on our scorecard and it's domain 2, because it is a big part of our accountability. All right, one last slide, and then we'll get into the meat of everything. I also put up there, if you have a link to this, you'll see the STAR data comparison, that box up at the top, because I'm going to only touch on the surface of STAR scores. I'm only going to talk about approaches. What is approaches, meets, and masters? It's the grade level performance. And so when I hit approaches, that's the grade level. I've made the minimum to be successful for the next grade. So while it's great that I passed, I'm still going to need some targeted academic intervention so I can be successful at the next grade level. Then we have meets. Meets means, hey, I'm right in the middle. I'm beyond just the barely passing, but I've got this and I've got it grasped a little bit more, but I could still use some short-term intervention so I can be successful. And then there's masters. Masters means I'm at the top. I've scored one of the highest. And so, that's where we always, of course, want to strive students to be, but at the same time, we have to look at growth to make sure our students are growing. And then, of course, there's the do not meet. So again, these are grade level performances. What I'm going to go over with you tonight is just approaches. So as the data person, when I look at scores, I look to see that our campus or school district have 90% approach. So our kids, 90% on that, 60% on the meets, and 30% on the masters. If we do that in domain 1, we're an A campus or an A district. Now, I will tell you, remember, these are after COVID. Prior to COVID, we were an 89 district and right on track. We're going to get back on track, but we're not quite where we were in 2019. So let's go ahead and get started with looking at the exact scores. So how I did this, again, this is approaches. So it doesn't account for meets and masters. If you want to dig a little bit deeper into that, that's why I put that link up there so you can go check that out. Or you can call me or email me or whatever, and I'd be glad to go over that with you as well. So this is how I did it. 2021 results. Then you have 2022 results, and then we have a column that shows the difference. Anything that's black means we scored the same as we did in 2021. So that's therefore why we have an equal sign. Anything that is red means we went down some percentage points from the previous year. And anything in green means we went up. So we showed some growth in that area. Also, when you look at 2021 and you still see the black and the red and the green, that means we scored either below, equal to, or above what we did in 2019. So overall, as WISD, we went down just a little bit at 4%. WHS went just down the same amount, but Global and Coleman went up to 3% and 1%. But what I always like to look and compare to is to say, hey, look what we did compared to the region in the state. While we did go down 4% as WISD, we also are higher, 2% higher than the region and also 3% higher than the state. So overall, we're where we need to be. Biology is up next, and so we look at that, no reds. Okay, everything is the black, which means we stayed the same as 2021, or it was a green. So we had +2, Region 10 came up a little bit, and Global came up, and we were the same for everything else. So everything looked good for biology. English 1 and English 2, if you don't know this, those are the two most difficult tests that high school students take. In fact, that's one of the reasons I think there's Senate Bill 149, because if you look at the percentage rates on these, they're low, but they're not just low for us, they're low across the state. And so there is some red in here, but it's very minimal. So WISD -2, WHS -1. Global went up a percentage, but again, I'm going to point out to you, look at WISD. While we were at 69%, that was 5% above the region and 6% above the state. So like I said, those are we always want to look at celebrations and look at the things that we're doing okay. English 2, same thing, difficult test, but you can see there's no red in this area. In fact, there's only been one red the last 2 years, and probably I'd have to go back and look, that's probably about 1 percentage point. So English 2 staying right there in the ball game, 1% up from the state, 1% up for WHS, and then everybody else was the same as the year before. U.S. history is one of those tests that our high school students actually do the best in. It was probably the one that I would probably do the worst in, but that's ones where we really strive. And so you can see state and region went up 1%. Overall, we stayed the same. WHS went just down 2% and Global went down 1%. So like I said, staying right in there. So overall for high school, Very few fluctuations as far as up or down or status quo, but we're right there where we were in 2021. On all of these, I wanted to go over some celebrations. So the high school celebrations are biology scored equal to or above the 2021 results for both approaches and meets for both WHS and global. And then all 5 EOC exams, Algebra 1, Biology, English, English 2, and U.S. History scored above the region and the state in performance levels for everybody. So that's a big celebration when you can score above both the region and the state. Global High School scored at or above 2021 approaches performance level, and 4 of them, Algebra, Biology, English 1, and English 2. So you saw there was a lot of greens, and so they made some strides. And then this is a big one. Global increased master's performance level. Remember, that's that top tier that those kids are scoring on. Algebra by 21% and biology by 26%. So that's a huge celebration when you start looking at master's performance level. All right, next part is the junior highs. So I categorized it, and I kept all junior highs or kept math together than reading together just to look at it a little bit closer. So 6th grade, if you look there, everything's in the green, +6, +8, +7. So did great on 6th grade math. And you're probably asking me right now, why is there no region or state percentages right there? Well, if you know, we got a new system this year called Cambium that all our scores came in. And needless to say, it was kind of a nightmare to pull results. So what they did is, after I did high school, they came in and said, hey, just kidding, we're going to pull these for right now because we think it's bogging down the system, and we'll share them with you later. So unfortunately, as we go throughout the rest of the presentation, except for, I believe, elementary math, there will not be a state and region that I can compare that to. And then you look at 7th grade math. We showed some gains in that. Coleman went down a little bit, but 9% gain for Howard, 7% gain for Findlay, 1% gain overall. I wish I could do some comparison over that. But again, math is one of those struggles that we're seeing a lot of green here, so that's good. Also, 8th grade math, we did show some areas that went down a little bit. WISD just 1%, Coleman just 4%. Findlay stayed the same. Howard was +2%. I also wanted y'all to take in consideration, when we look at 8th grade math, overall as a district, 200 of our kids that are in 8th grade are taking Algebra 1. So we're taking those kids out of the mix, and they're now in Algebra 1. Same thing for that 7th grade math, and those kids taking that upper level or next up grade level math on that. So that's our junior high math. Our junior high reading, green. That's what we like to see, lots and lots of green. And not just little bitty green, we have big green. That kind of reminds me of the track meets. But anyway, so +11 to +22% for 6th grade reading. 7th grade readings +10 all the way up to +11. And then 8th grade reading all the way +5 to +12. And so, again, that's the area that hasn't been as much of a struggle across the state. We just do better in that. But if you look at the comparison, we went down last year. You see everything was red last year. So I know we made some great strides in that and some big percentage points. So that is junior high reading. Then we have grade 8 math. I wish I could do a comparison, because even though you look that we went down at 77%, I would venture to say we're probably still above the state and the region, since they were 69 and 67% last year. Went down minimal, -1%, and then we did a +3%. And then for social studies, this is a hard test, y'all, for junior high students. And so you can see over the past 2 years, and if you remember scores from previous, we've made a lot of gains in 8th grade social studies. So +1, +3, +3, and then just went down a little bit. So overall, our junior high scores, great job to all 3 junior highs. To go over some celebrations with that, Coleman, Findlay, Howard, they all showed gains in 3 performance levels. So that's the approaches, meets, and masters for Algebra 1. So those are those 8th graders taking that high school EOC. Then all grade levels at all 3 junior highs, grades 6, 7, and 8, showed gains in all performance levels for reading. As Dr. Hollingsworth would say, that's a big deal, y'all. It's green. And so kudos to them. Then grade 6 math showed gains in approaches performance level for the 3 junior high campuses. And then Findlay had a 22% increase for grade 6 reading compared to 2021. So you've seen a lot of these are, that 5% or left, 22% gain. And then grade 8 math, reading, and social studies increased the percentage of students at the master level. Remember, that's those kids up here that we've got to keep up there, and sometimes that's difficult. So to have a gain and to do it in those 3 areas, that's a big deal also. All right, on to our elementary campuses. This is the math. I did it just like I did to junior high. So this is the elementary math. There is a lot of more red in this area, but there's also rooms for celebrations. And again, I wish, and I do have a comparison for this. This one was because I was working at 5 o'clock in the morning pulling these results because I knew it was going to happen when everybody got on it. So I was able to get elementary math, but that was it beyond that point. We did have more of that. So overall, as a district, we went down 9%. But you can see the rest of them there. Felty stayed the same. Shack stayed the same. We had a 17% increase for Marvin, 1% for Simpson, and a 6% for Wedge. And then grade 4 math, kind of a little of the same thing. We had a lot of red in there. Dunaway stayed the same. We did go down 2% as an overall district. And y'all, sometimes when you look at this and you go, man, there's a lot of red, that's when the principals really look at individual students. And I know I talked to one individual principal, and she told me, you know, while there's some red in here, man, some of my kids made some great gains. And that goes back to that domain 2 and to our balanced scorecard. Are we showing growth? Are our kids showing growth? Does it necessarily look like it here, but remember, this is only a small portion. We're only looking at approaches here. There's also meets and masters that kids did, and those are going to be some of my celebrations in just a little bit. And then grade 5 math, we went down as a district overall by 5%, but Cliff, Dunaway, Wildman showed some growth in there. And so while math was a little bit lower, I know we all have a plan. We're working with House Bill 4545 will help out in this, and we'll definitely get back on track. Then we have elementary reading. A lot more green in here than the red. As a district, we stayed the same. Went down, it was about half and half for grade 3 reading. Felty showed improvement +3, Marvin +9, Simpson +1, Wedge +10. So anytime you show that double digit, there's a lot of great things going on. Reading, a lot more, there is more green than there is red there. So a majority of the campuses, and look at Simpson, a +27%, and Wedge was a +16%. Then we look at 5th grade reading. Overall, as a district, we went up 5%. Dunaway had an 18% increase. Wedge and Wildman had a 14% increase. So reading, again, didn't hit us as bad for COVID as it did for math. And then grade 5 science. Of course, science kind of goes hand in hand with your math. I know it's lower than we would all like it to be, but we always have to look at the celebrations. Dunaway went up 4%, Wildman went up 6%, and then those will be areas that we'll want to work on to improve for our 5th grade math. And so then our elementary celebrations, and again, this is what I didn't go over, but that I want to bring out. The biggest gains for approaches performance level. Marvin had a 17% increase for grade 3 math. Simpson was a 12% increase for grade 4 math and a 27% increase for grade 4 reading. Wedgeworth, a 16% increase for grade 4 math, 14% for grade 5 reading, and a 10% for grade 3 reading, and Wildman had a 14% for grade 5 math. So I really picked out those that had the double-digit gains for that approaches performance level. Then masters, this is the part that I didn't go over. Performance level significantly improved for grade 3 reading across all 8 campuses. Again, that's in that other report that I showed you if you want to click on. Felty, Marvin, Simpson, and Wedge showed a minimum of 16% gain for the meets level. So remember, that was right there in the middle. And then all elementary campuses scored at or above 2021 results for meets at grade 4 reading. And then Dunaway had a 27% gain for grade 5 science and meets and masters performance level. And then grade 5 reading at meets performance level showed double-digit gains for Clift at 10%, Dunaway at 26%, and Wildman for 17%. So I wanted to definitely take away, this is more than meets the eye and just looking at the approaches level. There's the meets and the masters as well. Almost done here, just a couple of changes that will happen for next year. All-Star and EOC will be 100% online. That is coming from the state. I'm proud to say that we were 99.98% this year, that we were ahead of the ball game, thanks to a lot of people, especially our technology team, and getting devices on our campuses. Next year's going to look different. Our test is going to look different. Accountability is going to look a little bit different. As you show up there, House Bill 3906 established the multiple choice cap. What that means is no more than 75% of the total points can be based off multiple choice questions. So students are going to have a lot more, not just pick A, B, C, and D anymore. Reading language arts, you're accustomed to having writing in grades 4 and grade 7. That goes away, and now it's reading language arts, so it'll be a combined reading and writing test, just like your English 1 and English 2 is. And then we'll have some new accountability requirements, which I'm sure I'll be up here again at some point going over that when we know those a little bit better. Whew. Lots of information, but hopefully it was helpful and meaningful. And do y'all have any questions for me?
Not so much question, but just thank you for all your hard work on that. I know there's a lot that goes into this report.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That last item that you mentioned, new requirements, are they going to come up with new names again, or is that just... It seems like they do that. Like
They haven't really released everything yet. I will tell you that before our district, remember when we were 89? Now they're going to do it like Marvin's 400 students, but Wedgeworth is 800 students. So Wedge will have more percentage into the district score than Marvin will, just because it's the percentage of students. I know that is one thing that's changing. They'll change a lot of the cut points and stuff because the test is going to look different. And not every district went online this year. We were just fortunate enough that we were in a place that we could do that, and so we're a little ahead of the game too. So anyway, anything else? All right, thank you, board.
Hold on, Ms. Silver. Hold on, Ms. Silver.
Don, I had one. Really, I just want to email you my question tomorrow about, CCU.
Sounds good. Thank y'all.
Okay, next item is our information report on targeted campus support. Dr. Benneker, you? Come on, man, come in the curveball.
All right. Good evening, board and Dr. Hollingsworth. Tonight I have the privilege of sharing the new model of support that we will be providing to elementary campuses this fall. So our current model of support is that we have had 6 campus-assigned instructional coaches with 4 content curriculum coordinators that have been supporting 10 elementary campuses. And the support typically has been by request from either the teacher and or administrator, and then the coordinator has been deployed out to those campuses to help. It has been challenging, obviously, because of the time commitment and the distance between some of our campuses to be able to provide the level of support that we want to. Additionally, consistent follow-up is hard to have when you are not consistently on a campus, as is time for professional learning, and the ability to complete coaching cycles with fidelity. So with all of the with the addition of campuses and as we continue to grow, we really wanted to take a look at how we are supporting our elementary campuses. And so that is where we came to the tiered support for campuses. So Ms. Mott attended a conference and came back with an idea from a neighboring district that was doing something similar. And so she put together a team that included principals, coordinators, instructional coaches, and directors. And we went and visited this district and asked questions, thought about things that maybe challenges that they had to overcome, and then came back and met as a design team to come up with what it should look like or what we want to do in Waxahachie ISD. So campuses will be put into 3 categories based on data. And the first is individualized support. So this is a campus that is scores are showing they're exceedingly doing well, and they may need support for specific teachers. And so in that case, you see the 3 types of support that we are providing. They will have access to the professional learning based on principal discretion. The TLC director will distribute information from the campuses and make sure they are kept up to date on what the focus support campuses are doing, and then targeted coaching consultation with members of the TLC team. So that's where the principal can call and say, hey, this teacher needs some support, can you come over? The second level, strategic support, we add a layer, and they will have a campus-based instructional coach that will be on their campus dedicated to supporting those teachers. They still have all the individualized supports, and then we add that next layer. And then finally, our focus campuses will have more specific support. And so the professional learning will actually be held on their campus, and it will be specific to whatever the campus principal and the team has decided those needs are. They will also have a campus-based instructional coach. And what will happen is the TLC team will go into the campus on Monday mornings. They will meet with the campus principal, Dr. Binnicker, Dr. Averett, Ms. Mott, and myself, and we will talk through what that campus needs for the week and decide how they're going to deploy the teaching learning coordinators to those campuses. They will work and they go to that campus 7 times during the school year for a solid week. So they're part of that campus. They go in on Monday, they teach and support teachers all the way through Friday, and then they go to their next campus. The teachers are required to attend the trainings, but the TLC team will be designing those trainings based on their specific needs. And then additionally, we have a coach coming in from Solution Tree to support teachers as we get that PLC process embedded at the campus level. So the membership of the team, Ms. Mott worked hard to restructure existing positions. And so I am now serving as the Director of Teaching and Learning and have the opportunity to help roll this out. Our current elementary coordinators are now going to be called teacher learning coordinators. And instead of just being content specific, we're all going to work as a collective team to really focus on strong Tier 1 instruction with research-based practices. And then existing instructional coaches will continue to be supportive at the strategic and focus campuses. So the strengths of this model is to provide focused support, implement intensive week-long coaching cycles that foster collaboration between district and campus level administrators, also between the TLC team and the coordinators and the teachers to really build that relationship, to build the capacity and effectiveness of teachers, providing convenient professional learning on campuses based on their needs and the specific goals of the campus. And so I'd like to invite Ms. Polk, who is also on this design team, to kind of share her perspective as a principal.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. I had the privilege of serving on the design team for this new structure. As a campus principal, I am looking forward to this innovative approach to instructional coaching and support. At Marvin this past year, we focused on Tier 1 instruction and providing specific targeted intervention. While approximately 80% of our students showed expected or accelerated growth, we still have areas of instructional needs. This intentional partnership with the curriculum department will help ensure that our teachers receive relevant, high-quality professional development and coaching to continue to grow in their profession and teaching craft. The strategic emphasis and collaboration on Tier 1 instruction with high-impact strategies and data-driven decisions will support high levels of student growth and performance. As a former district curriculum coordinator, I understand the time constraints in being able to support all campuses to the fullest. This new design will help us as a district to prioritize and scaffold our areas of support, implementing intentional cycles of coaching, and continue to build teacher capacity to ensure that our students learn at high levels. This innovative structure demonstrates that we value a collaborative culture that honors and supports all who positively impact the lives of our students. Any questions? Oops.
Okay, next report will be informational presentation on Mentors Care Program. Mr. Alvenshaw.
Thank you, Mr. President, Dr. Hollingsworth, Board. It is my honor, it's my privilege to be able to introduce our next program. This spring, we went out and solicited services to bring mentors to Waxahachie High School. With your help, Board, we were able to secure the best. The truly best program for providing mentor services in Ellis County is Mentors Care. I know we've got Sandy King here in the audience. She's excited to see this. This has been a passion of hers for a long time. We got Tanya Harris here. She's excited to see this come to fruition, to bring Mentors Care to Waxahachie High School. And then we have Dina Petty, the founder of Mentors Care, Michelle Baggett, and Brian Blackwell, the managing director, former campus principal, retired campus principal from Midlothian ISD, but ready to bring a phenomenal mentor program to help at-risk students at Waxahachie High School. So, Mr. Blackwell, take it away.
Just the first thing I want to do is just thank you for your vote of confidence last May 9th. I was watching the board meeting, and I have to compliment you guys. I've attended a few board meetings in my career. You have the smoothest, most efficient board meetings I've ever been to, so thank you for that. We're excited to be here. We're thrilled. I just wanted to go over a quick presentation with you and just fill you in on what we are, what we do, and what we're all about. So we are Mentors Care, and our mission is to connect at-risk high school kids with a caring mentor from your community who comes in for one class period a week for 26 weeks to be a friend, a role model, and a confidant for that student. If we looked, I was shocked as a principal at how many at-risk students I had in my building. I had a building of 1,100 kids. I had 385 at-risk students based on state at-risk indicators. Mentors Care also has their own at-risk indicators, kids who have anxiety, depression, kids who have parents who have split up. There's a whole host of things that make kids at risk of dropping out. And there are literally thousands and thousands of hurting kids across our state who would benefit from having a mentor. I had a mentor in high school. His name was Julian Goddard, and we still talk today. So our core business is mentoring. And Miss Petty started this back in 2009 in a broom closet at Midlothian High School. It started off really small, and it's grown over the years. But what we want to do is help our kids graduate, and we want to help them reach their fullest potential after high school. And we have grown exponentially. The program has doubled in the last 2 years. And we have now, in the fall, we'll have 15 high schools. This says 9, but we've added schools since then. And so we are at every school in Ellis County except Ennis. We're in Dallas County, Taylor County, and Ellis County. To let you just see some of the schools that we serve, out of Ellis County, we serve Maypearl, Ferris, both Midlothian High Schools, Palmer, Red Oak, in Ellis County, JJAEP. And in Dallas County, we have Advantage Academy, and we have Life School. And we started last fall at Abilene Wiley High School way out in Taylor County, and that program has grown and done very, very well. Once you contract with us, everything's turnkey. We do all the work. And I'm happy to report to you. I didn't tell you this morning, Dr. Hollingsworth, but we already have 8 mentors signed up at Waxahachie High School, and we've got 15 verbal commitments. So we're already looking at possibly 23 mentors, and our caseload's 50 to 60. And I'm going to tell you that this community is going to be, I think, the easiest to recruit mentors out of because of the way this community supports the high school. So we're already at work, and we've hit the ground running. We have a full-time coordinator. She could not be here tonight. Her name is Caitlin Terry. She is experienced. She's from Midlothian. We just felt like, given the amount of time and hard work that went into this program, we wanted to bring in someone with experience and not put a brand-new person in that position. It's critical that this program succeed. And just so you know, our mentors come in. We recruit from your community. Our mentors come in 1 class period per week for 26 weeks and spend 1 class period. We pull our students from elective classes so they're not missing math or science. And so, Coach, if she's still here, she'll be happy to know that those STAR scores won't be affected by kids missing core classes. And so, when I mentored last year when I was still a Midlothian employee, and I'd come off the campus. I missed kids. I was working at admin in a Brown office, and so I volunteered to mentor, and I fell in love with the program, and I saw the excellence that it brings to the school. And they didn't waste my time. I got trained. There's an application process. We do all the criminal background checks. We checked 3 references on every one of our mentors, and then I went through a 2-hour training to be equipped. So I felt very equipped. And there were talking points. We have a curriculum. It's called 24 Talking Points. I knew when I went in every week that we would be talking about either why is school important, what about the classes you don't like, what are your goals for the future, what about respecting authority. We're teaching kids and training them every week. We also do grade checks every week on our students to make sure they're passing. If they're not passing, We get their individual grades for history, and we can see that, oh, you have 7 zeros. That's why you're not passing history. So you need to see your teacher and get this, and this turned in. Another thing that we do is we connect our students. We refer to outside agencies like food banks, clothing banks. We can refer students to counseling if they need counseling. We could even refer for medical needs if students have that. A lot of our kids are hungry. A lot of them are food challenged. And so our students are afforded 2 snacks a day in the office, and they think that's kind of cool to get to go in and get a snack. But it also helps them. It helps them. We help them on weekends with food and backpacks if they need that. We help them with school clothes. We had a young lady at Midlothian High School last year who had 1 pair of shoes to her name, and the strap broke, and they were duct taped. Well, we get on Amazon, boom, she's got 2 brand new pair of shoes the very next day. So, but we never want to lose sight of what our core business is, and that's mentoring. But we've added another component during the last year, because we all know that it's not good enough to say, hey, buddy, you graduated. It's a tough world. Good luck out there. And so what we do is we help them find a pathway. We will track that pathway and report to you guys what your kids are doing after graduation. But I'm happy to announce that we have forged relationships with employers all over Ellis County. In the list you see on your screen, there is not an exhaustive list. These are just some of the more prominent companies that have agreed to us. Yes, companies are looking for kids to go to work. Kids need jobs when they graduate. So we can now refer students, if they want to be a welder and do fabrication, we can refer to P&W Quality Machine. If they want to go to work, they want to work in a door shop, they can go to DW Distribution. And these are good relationships for our kids, and they help them get those jobs coming right out of high school. But the magic is the mentor. That mentor showing up every week, being that friend, that role model, and that confidant is our core business. So we don't want to get sidetracked from that. Most of our mentors stay in touch with their students after they graduate. I would say probably when I talk to our mentors and I ask them if they still talk to their student, they graduated, about 3/4 say, yes, we talk once a month. We went to lunch last week. We talk several times a year. The results are powerful. We had 100% of our seniors graduate across 7 high schools back in 2021 when we had only 7 schools. 70% of our kids maintained their credits or improved on their credits. Same with attendance. We were able to connect 60% of our kids with some type of outside referral, be it food, clothing, or whatnot. Our graduates, I'll be honest with you, most don't go to 4-year schools the first year. A lot of them go to Navarro or they go to TCC. Some go into manual trades. We have some who go straight to work, and we even have some who end up joining the military. But I'm excited to see that our kids, when they graduate, they're so passionate about the program, they want to come back and mentor. And so we hold them back till they're about 21, till they got some life experiences under their belts. We actually are to the point where we have former students mentoring for us now. But one of the things as a former principal that I'm excited about is the amount of community engagement that you're going to see coming into your school. You're going to see 50 to 60 adults from Waxahachie, from your community, coming into the school and pouring into kids. They'll learn about the challenges of what schools like today, and they'll go out, and our mentors advocate for the schools, and they protect you guys, and they talk you guys up, and they really brag on the great things going on in your schools. So you will see an increase in community engagement. I love what our principals say. Ms. Tipton over at Heritage just says that it changes lives. Ms. Wirch over at Red Oak High School says it makes their students feel like they belong at Red Oak High School, and it helps kids graduate who otherwise would not have graduated. I love what our mentors say. You're going to watch a video in a minute, and you'll hear some of our mentors speak. It brings our mentors great joy. One of them says it's the most useful I feel in a week. But I love, most of them say what Leanne Stover says, that mentoring has made as much of an impact on me as I have on them. So you'll see some powerful relationships form. But most importantly, I love what the kids say. This young lady is a student at Midlothian High School, lost her brother, and our program has helped her cope with that loss, and she's doing very well. This is one of my favorite kiddos, Patricia over at Ferris. She was hard, boy. When she came in, she was angry, and she wasn't going to class, and she was getting in trouble, and she was fighting, and she got in the program, and you hear what she says, the program's literally saved her. And I'm happy to report that she'll be a senior in the fall, and she is going to be enlisting in the United States Navy upon graduation. This is one of my kids. This is Haven, middle school kid who was a model kid in school, didn't get in trouble, did pretty well in school, but freshman year, she nosedived. Wrong crowd, dangerous activities, abusive boyfriend, dropped out, went back to school, got involved in Pantherettes, which is the drill team, graduated, and she was actually our Gold Star graduate last year, and she's doing very well. She's working on being a certified nurse assistant right now. And she was actually our speaker we will have an end-of-year ceremony or end-of-year get-together for your kids, and we'll have a student speaker, and Haven was our speaker this year, and she blew it out of the water. But I'm going to show this video now and let you kind of see what goes on here. What happened to our, here we go.
My mentor has got me to think more about school. He inspires me to be a better person and be the best me I can be.
The most rewarding is watching young men that I've talked to become more confident in what they are and who they are.
The most rewarding is to be engaging in the lives of these young people and to help them to realize that the moment that they're living in is just a snapshot.
You know, I think just seeing from day one when you meet with them and they're kind of guarded and they don't really know who you are, and then just over time they get comfortable and they start trusting you, and then just their growth.
This is the most useful I feel in a week. That might sound weird, but and I know it's only an hour, but feeling like you're making a difference just for that short period of time has meant a lot to me. So I'm super grateful that I had this opportunity.
When you see the students who came in here very insecure, hating life, we're just motivating them, encouraging them. And then finally you see a spark. It's powerful. I mean, that's proof that the program works.
It adds another layer, if you will, another person that comes into the school and holds them accountable, offers support, advice, and develops a relationship, motivates them to come.
You know, what always warms my heart is how a new mentor would come in and they get, you know, a kiddo that's really going through a lot. And every time they'd meet with their kiddo and come in the office, just tears.
It's been amazing to watch him grow from what he was a year ago when I met him last year as a junior. Just to watch him become such an amazing young man and believe in himself in ways that he didn't believe in himself. And then to watch him accomplish things and know that he accomplished it. That's been amazing.
Ms. Baggett had actually called me into her office one time, and she kind of explained to me what it was. And I'm going to be honest, from the point that I was getting into it, the main reason I got into it at first was because I heard, oh, 2 snacks a day, sweet. But once I actually got into it, I started benefiting from it. Whether I'm, you know, hanging out with my friends or not, or whether I'm sitting down with my family to eat dinner, I'm thinking about, okay, what can I do to get this amount of work done in this amount of time? What can I do to better myself?
When you love someone and you know they love you unconditionally, you're going to soak up every moment that you can with them and watch them, observe them. So when you have a mentor and a student meeting and that relationship is built of trust, like you really don't want anything, you really just want to be a friend, then they're going to learn, they're going to remember.
Mentors Care, before we even started meeting with our students, gave us awesome resources, a great book to read so that we felt really, really equipped.
She's like, no, let's not look at what's wrong. Let's look at the good things and the positive.
I just want her to always realize her value, and I want her to gravitate towards people who also recognize her value.
But when they have that smile and all of a sudden that light bulb over their head clicks on, you're like, there you go.
One of the most helpful things I've learned is to prioritize my grades so I can get better chances for the future.
Just showing up each week is doing more for these kids than what you can even tell them.
Ms. Baggett, she boosts my confidence and like my morale.
My mentee has caused me to reflect on myself, because if I'm going to ask her something, then I need to be able to answer that as well.
If they have people there to support them, to encourage them, and help them cast a vision for their future, that they can be really successful and push through lots of challenges.
And so when you see the positive stories, that is powerful. I mean, that's proof that the program works.
That time you're having with them is not in vain. It may be years from now that they're going to recall and remember the things you've taught them.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. We're thrilled, and we're already hitting the ground running, so thank you.
Thank y'all so much for being here tonight. We really are excited about the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Next item on our agenda is informational report on the PLC scheduling progress at campus. Dr.
All right, good evening, board. Dr. Hollingsworth. I wanted to share an overview of the PLC scheduling process that our campuses will start this fall. Each campus had flexibility in how they scheduled this time, excuse me, and we've still worked with our campus leaders to make sure that they're affording time to their teachers in a difference to their conference time. They've got a PLC time where they can get together and work collaboratively with the teams. Tonight, I've invited Mr. Day, Dr. Cavazos, and Mr. Zant to come and talk about theirs, and I've also got Ms. Harris here. One of the things that I want to point out is thanks to your support at the high school, the teachers will go back to a 6 of 8 schedule, so they'll have a PLC and a conference time, one of those each day, where they can meet with their core content areas to plan collaboratively and work for student success. So I'm going to let each of them come up and talk to you about their schedules just a little bit.
Good evening. This year, we have learned how to be a more effective professional learning community through the solution tree training provided by the district, and I appreciate you investing in that for all of our staff members. I believe that the hard work that was done as part of the PLC was a huge reason why our students demonstrated growth throughout this year. It is in these collaborative team meetings that we consistently address the 4 critical questions. What do we want our students to know and be able to do? How will we know when each student has acquired the essential knowledge and skills? How will we respond when some of the students do not learn? And how will we respond and extend the learning for the students who already are proficient? So tonight, what I'm going to do is share from our campus how we are setting aside a designated time to support our teachers in this program, in this PLC process. So last year, in the years past, we've been meeting during our conference periods. We have set one designated day on Wednesdays, and that's when we would meet together as a team with instructional coach, with administrators. But the goal moving forward is to give their teachers back their conference period, and we're creating a dedicated time so they can meet together that's not during their planning time, which our teachers are very excited about. I know, on a side note, every elementary campus, it may look a little bit differently. We are all working towards this process. Some may be doing it in the mornings. But on our campus, what we're doing based on our schedule, we are, as you see, the protective collaborative team meetings. We are setting from 2:55 to 3:40 every day will be a designated time to meet. Each grade level has been designated a specific day. And since there are 5 days in 6 grade levels, we had to be a little bit creative with 2 of them. So kinder and first grade, they're going to be alternating every Friday to be able to meet. And so this is the time that we are going to be meeting together. And what we have is we have designated teachers who will cover the content classes from 2:55 to 3:40 and allow these teachers to be here. And these grade level teachers, they will not have to do after school duty these days. So they're even more excited about that. So as you can see, this is just an example of what we are doing at Wedgeworth Elementary School. And we're excited to have this designated time and give them back some time during conference as well. Thank you. And now for middle school.
Thank you, Dr. Hollingsworth and Board of Trustees. We created this plan for teachers to have extra collaboration time while protecting their schedule that they're accustomed to. We understand the importance of their planning time. So the plan. So each teacher already receives a 50-minute conference daily. Each teacher will receive an additional conference once per week for their PLC time. And then their extra conference will be during advisory period. So I know during, for our schedule, we have advisory second period. Coleman and Howard, I believe, have 6th.
We have 6, they have 7.
They have 6th and 7th periods. So that's a time where actually, so if a content area or grade, whatever, let's say ELAR has it on Tuesday, they will, their kids in advisory will go to the cafeteria where they'll be monitored, and then that will provide that extra time for them to collaborate with each other. Each day, a designated subject area will be off during advisory, and that next slide will show the example of that. And then during their extra time, teachers in the same subject area will be able to meet either by grade level or with 3 grade levels, depending on the cycle of the PLC. And then,
yeah, so, you know, it's obviously going to look a little bit different at each campus depending on, you know, our academic needs are also when we decide to put our accelerated learning program in place, but we'll all use that advisory period. I know at Howard, we're going to use our coaches, and they're going to be the ones that aren't going to have an advisory period like they have in the past, but instead they're going to provide this PLC coverage for our other teachers. So, for instance, we may have math on Monday, ELAR Tuesday, science, and then social studies and electives. Really, the goal is to get an entire content group off at the same time. That way we can meet, you know, vertically and horizontally, right? So we want all ELAR teachers to meet of all 3 grade levels at one point, or it may just be all 6th grade ELAR teachers meeting at another. But the goal is to get the entire content area off at the same time. And then we don't want to forget our electives, so we're going to do theirs on Fridays as well. So.
And I apologize, I wasn't told about this presentation until a short time ago, but I just want to take an opportunity to tell you thank you. I hope you know what an impact it has had on WHS to go back to the 6 of 8 block. It means a lot, not only to our teachers, but it means a lot to our students. It really takes that learning and that instructional time to that next level. And we have completed our master schedule. We have a little bit of tweaking to do here and there, but what it means for our teachers and our students is our teachers are going to get that planning time. They're going to get their conference time back to where it's designated just for conference time, and then that PLC time will be another 90 minutes. For example, our English 1 department will conference on A days, and then on B days, our English 1 department will be able to PLC together, dig through that data, and look at ways to improve instruction, and it means the world to our team. And we really do appreciate Dr. Hollingsworth and board for approving that. It means a lot to WHS. We're looking forward to the great year. Thanks.
Y'all have any questions about anything?
Thank you guys very much. Thank you. Okay. Item F, informational update on schools of choice.
All right.
Dr. Binnicker.
So following suit with the last couple of months, just wanted to give you a quick update on our schools of choice. At the end of May, all of our K through 5 teachers at Marvin Biomedical Academy have completed their National Certificate for STEM Teaching training. And then all new Marvin and pre-K teachers will begin their training in the fall when we come back in August. I've got a sample schedule there right there, so you can see that all the students that were accepted through the lottery program have been notified, and you can see the breakdown on the slide right there. So it added 1 additional section at each of 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th grades, and then 2 additional sections at kinder and 3rd grade for the upcoming school year. So we're really excited about that. And we hit on the Marvin Biomedical and Baylor Scott and White memorandum earlier in this meeting, so we're really excited about that partnership there. Real quick, I'll talk about Howard Junior High dual language program there. Our first cohort of students, it was 22 students, I think the last time that I came to talk to you in May. We're up to 28 students now, which is a fantastic number for this cohort to start off with. And so we have our teacher identified. Ms. Heimbuck, I apologize to you. We stole a teacher from Dunaway, but that means she's coming to us with a lot of experience. She's very familiar with the program there of the dual language program at Dunaway and Wedgeworth. I'm really excited about that. And then the sample schedule of the classes right there, so you can see where the students will get their English instruction and their Spanish instruction through a Spanish language arts class and mathematics in Spanish. So excited about that program. And then thank you to Mr. Gerke for working on the transportation hubs. This will take away any barrier for our students that might not have access to transportation to get to these campuses. So with these hubs, the students will get to this site, the buses will transport them to their school of choice. So we're really excited about this. This information went out in all of the packets that came from those campuses on the applications for the lottery. When the students are notified, it'll go in the back to school toolkit, and then it's also going to be posted on our website and social media outlets, just to make sure that everybody knows where the transportation is. So we're really excited about that, make that, easy for our kids to get to these schools of choice there. Any questions about those things? No? All right. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our consent agenda. We have items A through L. We can entertain these all in one motion, or if there's some that for individual discussion, however you would like to proceed.
Mr. President, I move that we approve consent agenda items A through L.
Motion by Mr. Starnader. Second. Second by Mr. McCutcheon. Any other discussion?
Real quick, I don't want to pull anything, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things that sometimes get lost in the consent agenda, like on page 17.
What letter?
B.
Okay.
On the maintenance report. Again, some of this stuff gets lost in the consent agenda, but all those numbers translate into a lot of work hours, and just to have 12 work orders that are more than 15 days old, I think that's worth commenting on. And then on the next page, page 19, we had almost 3,000 kids checked by either drug dog or metal detectors, and we only had one hit for pepper spray. That's pretty remarkable. So just wanted to highlight that and say good work to those folks that make that happen. That's it.
We have a motion in a second.
I want to pull I.
So there's already been a motion in a second. So you can still pull it. You need to amend the motion.
Yes, please pull. I just want to make a statement.
So you're asking to amend the motion to?
No, I just want to make a statement about I.
Oh, okay, well, we're still in the discussion. Okay.
Yes, I just want to say that sadly, we're not going to be able to offer the free lunch, free breakfast and free lunches that we've been able to for the next 2 years. I personally am hoping that something else may come down from the federal government or from the state so that it can, we at that time can, but for the last 2 years, we've been able to offer free breakfast and lunch, and we're not going to be able to continue that so that parents can plan for the fall. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second for consent agenda and items A through L. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. 10A, consideration and possible action to declare hazardous bus routes for the 2022-2023 school year. Mr. Calden, that's your department. I thought.
Refer to Mr.
Right.
Thank you, members of the
told
board.
it was gonna be
Dr.
you.
Hollingsworth, for allowing me to speak today. Mr. Calden is handing out the declaration that we submit to you every year. This is for the up-and-coming school year, the 22-23 school year. So any mileage that we incur from servicing hazardous areas, it has to be approved by the board, and then we send that, once it's approved, to the commissioner. Each year we do a review of our hazardous areas, and hazardous areas are part of bus routes. They're areas that may not have a good path for the kids to get to school. Let me get to here. Education code allows us to submit this mileage to the state, the mileage that we incur servicing these hazardous areas. How do we determine that is eligible? It has to be within 2 miles of the campus. When we measure that, we use the shortest route possible on public roads, and if it's within 2 miles, if we find hazards there, then that mileage could be part of a bus route. How do we determine whether a student lives 2 or more miles? I just stated that. We measure from a landmark. Usually we use the marquee at the school and the mailbox at the residence to determine the mileage from the campus to the student's home. An example of this area is Simpson Elementary. Kids that live in Blue Lake Villas or Hunters Cove apartments they would have to walk through an industrial area and cross 77, which is probably 7 lanes, and it's, we deem that hazardous. And I have a map here, and I'm going to try to use this pointer that I was showed earlier today, but let me see if I can get on there. Okay, here we go. This is, if you can see on this map here, I know it's kind of small. There's Highway 77. This area right here is what we draw in our GIS software. This is software that we use to put bus routes together, mapping, geocode students, determine their location. And you can see here's Blue Lake Villas in relation to Simpson Elementary. So if you live here or at Hunter's Cove, you would have to cross 77 to get to Simpson. And Hunter's Cove is probably about 1.8 miles, so it is below the 2 mile mark. And Blue Lake Villas is about the same. And so we determined that if kids have to get to school at Simpson, they live within that school boundary, this could be deemed hazardous. So we could submit that mileage to the state for funding. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those now.
I have a question. I was just curious, would this information be shared with the city?
This information is in the student's handbook.
Okay.
That will come, I think, at the July board meeting.
I was just thinking along the lines of, letting them know that this is, I don't know, maybe
We
in their
certainly
future
can do that.
planning
Yes,
or,
ma'am. We can absolutely
just
share those.
Just an idea.
Sure. No, it's a good one.
Most of it looks like it's due to major thoroughfares or railroad tracks.
Yes. And the last time we made changes to this declaration was in 2020 when we had some boundary changes with campuses.
There were a couple due to lack of sidewalks, but the majority of it looks like it's major thoroughfares or railroad tracks.
Yes, sir, it is. Yes.
You're not going to get the railroad change. I can assure you. Okay. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve action item A as presented. So moved. By Mr. Schofield. Second by Ms. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Item B, consideration with possible action to approve the purchase of technological devices at a cost not to exceed $225,000. Definitely your department.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, board. Dr. Hollingsworth. It's kind of weird. It's the first time I've been up here, and it's almost 7:40. So anyway, come before you tonight to ask for your approval to purchase approximately 385 devices at a price not to exceed $225,000. If you remember back in late summer, we started talking about ESSER 3 monies, and we allocated about $2.5 million for technology devices. Some of this purchase would come from that, but a lot of it would also come from local budgeted money in the technology department to be used for approximately 135 teacher devices, about 200 student devices, and about 50 computer lab devices. Those are not hard and fast numbers. That's kind of the planning estimate at this point, but we know we have about $225,000 worth. We're getting our quotes and we're ready to move on that, but wanted to go ahead and seek your approval on the ability to issue that purchase order when we get those quotes in so that we can get these devices in the hands of our kids. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Calden, will this make us basically a one-to-one district yet?
It's a really good question. So we've exceeded a one-to-one district.
Okay.
We have about 1.3 devices per student at this point. What you're seeing on some of this, the reason we have that many devices is a lot of them are in computer labs and a lot of them are used in other settings. And so these devices that we're talking about in computer labs, they're beefier than just your standard student device. So you're talking an audio video computer lab. That's a much beefier machine than just the student laptop that's sent out to all students. So once you start counting all of the student issued devices and the labs and the other devices that we have around the district, we really are about 1.3 devices per student. So yes, ma'am, we are a one-to-one district at this point.
Okay. But if we were to have to shut down again, would we be a one-to-one district with devices we could send home with the kids?
If we are shutting down and we do not reasonably expect to come back in a short amount of time, I do believe, yes, that we have enough devices in the district that we can rob from Peter to pay Paul for that shutdown period. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Is there still no such thing as leasing devices?
That's really not an arena that we're looking in. When I first got here, we were making our final payment on a capital lease for some Nexus 7 tablets, and this was the third installment of a 3-year lease. And I want to tell you, it was about 200 devices that we started with, and we had 15 that still worked at that point. And so it was a really difficult conversation to be having with people when we were talking about the technology budget is being utilized for these Nexus 7 tablets and making the final payment of it, and listening to principals and people in the curriculum department talk about, but they don't even work. It's a pile of junk and it's all sitting in the corner. That's one of the big fears that I have with leasing devices. So to straight answer your question, Mr. Rogers, it is not currently in the plan to lease devices. I'm just honestly not a huge fan of it because it always seems to bite us in the end when we're making those final payments. But it is an avenue that we could definitely look for going forward, if that's the pleasure of the board.
I mean, no, you know better than me, but I was just thinking in terms of obsolescence. I mean, you know, 2 years down the road, a device may be obsolete, kind of like golf clubs. I mean, by the time you get them home, and I was thinking in terms of leasing instead of purchasing because they would have a quicker trade-in period.
Yes, sir. There are some benefits to doing the lease side of things. It's not your problem at the end of that period. But then there are also, some other issues on the backside. As we're going through these cycles, if we go out and get a huge lease for 900 teacher devices, you're going to be beholden to that cycle every 3 years or 2 years, whatever that lease period's going to be, which is nice in terms of refreshing of devices, but it's really hard from a continuity standpoint. New device, new PD, new expectations. Somebody forgot to clean off the old device of their personal items or items that they had stored locally and not on the network drive. And so it eventually, will create you some issues. And then there's also the finance charge that's going to come in there as well. So it just hasn't been my preference at this point to look into a lease, but we definitely can do that going forward.
No, I trust your judgment on that.
Thanks, sir.
Any other questions from the Colton? Okay. Entertain a motion. Approve agenda action item B as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Kriegel, second by Mr. Rogers. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7.
Thank you, Board.
Item C, consideration and possible action to approve renewal of Apex Learning software from Edmund Mentum for a cost not to exceed $89,000.
That's it. I feel like Mr. Rogers is trying to justify a new golf club purchase with that question, so.
I need some. I don't think anything will help my game.
I haven't heard of them being obsolete by the time you got them home. But I'm not a golfer, so I can't tell you. All right, tonight I wanted to talk about Apex Learning software. So it's a high-quality, research-based online learning credit accrual and recovery program. We currently utilize this at Waxahachie High School as well as the High School of Choice. At High School of Choice, we had approximately 131 graduates that use this program for credit accrual in order to graduate this school year, in the 21-22 school year. Apex provides personalized learning programs that target the skills and concepts that each student needs to learn. So as the students get on there, they take kind of a pre-assessment, they go through, and the program will scale the questions and the difficulty based on the knowledge that student already has. So it's personalized to each student when they get into that program. At Waxahachie High School, we had 208 students that use this program for at least one or more class to do credit recovery for that program there. We also use this program for tutoring, for TSI, SAT tutoring, and for accelerated instruction due to the House Bill 4545 requirements. So due to the nature of these online courses, students are able to progress through this at their own pace, so they can move through the class and move on to the next course as they see fit, based on how well they perform on these. And we can set the mastery levels so they can hit an 80% mark. If the students have mastered that material, the program will take them to the next level, and so that's how we've used that program in both of those campuses. Any questions about Apex from Edmentum?
I have kind of an offbeat question.
Sure.
You just said it was used for remediation for the STAR end of course. Is that
yes,
what I'm
ma'am.
getting? And so are they using that instead of a teacher they're using the Apex instead?
They'll still have a teacher
for
there.
remediation?
Still have a teacher there to facilitate with them. So as the students progress and go through this, they've got a teacher that's sitting beside them going through some of the lessons and the questions with them. But it's individualized, so the teacher can actually work with more kids that way because the students are tiered in their work as they get into those programs.
Right, it's just with the end of course exams, English 1, English 2, that's on Apex also.
They can use it for that, so that's not the only use that we're using.
Okay,
for
that's
the
what I
yes,
wanted to know.
We do,
That's
yes,
all
we use
we were
the
using.
teachers as well, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to entertain a motion to approve action item C as presented.
So moved.
By Mr. McCutcheon, second by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Say nay. Carries 7-0. Last action item D, consideration possible action to approve renewal of the NWEA MAP software at a cost not to exceed $147,000.
All right, so MAP is another software that we use across the district, K through 12. It's our universal screening tool. So we use this to identify students that might have severe learning difficulties and may need more intensive interventions. We also have MAP Growth as a part of this software. So it's an adaptive interim assessment. So as the students perform on these tests, the tests get a little bit more difficult. The next time those students get to it, it's a little bit harder based on the previous time they were in there. So we use this in math, reading, language usage, and science. There's also Spanish versions of this in math and reading. MAP Growth gives us a score that's based on the RIT vertical scale. And so this allows us to track and measure within and between your growth for our students' learning. In addition to the RIT scores, MAP gives specific learning statements that show what each student is ready to learn. And this is also in alignment with our balanced scorecard priority 1, stating that every student will grow academically each year. This is something that, like I said, we use K through 12 across the district. Any questions on MAP? No?
Any questions for Dr. Winokur? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item D as presented. Motion by Ms. Timmerman. Second by Ms. Starnader. Any other discussion? In favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Last but not least, motion to adjourn, please. Motion by Mr. Schofield. Second by Mr. Cutchin. All in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. We are adjourned.